Imagine you're sailing the vast, cold waters of the North Atlantic. The sky is grey, the sea is restless, and you've been on this ship for months. Suddenly, the water beneath you starts to churn. It becomes shallow, almost brown, and you feel a tremor run through the hull of your vessel. Looking over the side, you see it, something enormous, a living island with colossal arms reaching up from the depths, ready to drag you and your entire ship down into a watery grave. This is the stuff of nightmares, the legend of the Kraken. For nearly 1,000 years, sailors have shared chilling tales of this monstrous beast lurking in the seas between Norway, Iceland, and Greenland. The stories began to surface around the year 1180, painting a picture of a creature so immense it could be mistaken for an island. They said it could create a massive, swirling whirlpool capable of swallowing the largest warship's whole, leaving no trace behind. The Kraken quickly became the largest, most terrifying monster ever conceived by the human imagination. But what if it wasn't just imagination? What if the sailors who swore they saw this beast weren't just spinning tall tales? What if the Kraken was real? Let's dive into the history of this legendary monster. The earliest written account comes from a Norwegian text from the late 12th century, the Konungs Skuggsjá, or the King's Mirror. This educational text, written for a king's son, describes the various wonders and dangers of the Greenland Sea. Among the whales and walruses, it mentions a creature of unbelievable size, so large that when it surfaces, sailors might mistake it for an island and try to make camp on its back. The text warns that the real danger comes when the monster submerges, creating a vortex that pulls everything around it down into the abyss. This account set the stage for centuries of folklore. The Kraken was often described as having huge, powerful tentacles, capable of wrapping around a ship's mast and snapping it like a twig. Some stories claimed it had countless arms, while others described it as more crab-like. Its sheer size was its most defining feature. Fishermen told stories of casting their nets in what they thought was a rich fishing ground, only to realize they were fishing over the back of the Kraken. They claimed the fish were plentiful because the monster's waist attracted them, but if they lingered too long, the beast would awaken and descend, and they'd be lucky to escape the resulting maelstrom. These stories weren't just campfire tales, they were treated as serious accounts by naturalists and cartographers for a long time. The famous 16th century map maker Olaus Magnus included a drawing of a giant sea monster attacking a ship on his influential map of the Nordic countries, the Carta Marina. Later, in the 18th century, the Bishop of Bergen, Erik Pontoppidan, dedicated a whole chapter to the Kraken in his Natural History of Norway. He described it in detail, calling it incontestably the largest sea monster in the world, with a back 1.5 miles in circumference. He even suggested that if its arms could hold the largest man-of-war, then the beast must be truly immense. Pontoppidan's work was widely read and respected, lending a sense of scientific credibility to the legend. So, for hundreds of years, the existence of a ship-sinking, island-sized monster was a very real fear for anyone venturing into the northern seas. The legend became embedded in maritime culture, a symbol of the unknown and terrifying power of the deep ocean. But as science and exploration advanced, the question remained, where is the proof? Where are the bodies? No one had ever hauled a Kraken ashore. No one had a skeleton to display. The monster existed only in fleeting, terrifying sightings and second-hand stories that grew more dramatic with each telling. This is where the line between myth and reality begins to blur. Because while an island-sized creature that actively hunts and sinks ships might be a fantasy, the creature that inspired these legends is very, very real, and it's just as fascinating, and in some ways, just as terrifying. Let's talk about the giant squid. For a long time, the giant squid, or Architeuthis dux asterisk, was considered a myth itself. Stories of giant tentacled creatures were dismissed as sailors' yarns. But then, in the 1850s, a massive squid beak washed ashore in Denmark. Soon after, body parts and even whole specimens started appearing, washed up on beaches or caught in fishing nets, particularly around Newfoundland. Science finally had its monster, and the similarities to the Kraken were uncanny. Let's look at the stats. A giant squid can grow up to 13 meters, or about 43 feet, long from the tip of its body to the end of its longest tentacles. That's about the length of a school bus. They can weigh up to a ton. They have 8 arms and 2 even longer feeding tentacles, which are equipped with powerful suckers lined with sharp chitinous rings like little teeth. These tentacles shoot out to grab prey, and the hooks dig in to ensure it doesn't escape. They also have the largest eyes of any animal on Earth, the size of dinner plates, designed to capture the faintest glimmer of light in the pitch-black depths they call home. Giant squids spend most of their lives in the deep ocean, thousands of feet below the surface, This is why sightings are so incredibly rare. For centuries, our only evidence of their existence was the stories of sailors and the occasional carcass. Imagine you are an 18th century sailor. You've never seen anything like this before. Suddenly, a massive creature with gigantic eyes and writhing, sucker-covered arms surfaces next to your wooden ship. It might just be coming up to investigate, or maybe it's sick and disoriented. But to you, in that moment of shock and terror, it looks like a monster straight from hell trying to pull you under. You survive the encounter and make it back to port. You have to tell everyone what you saw, but how do you describe it? You'd say it was huge, monstrous, with arms that could crush a mast. You'd talk about its terrifying eyes and the way it churned the water. The next person who tells the story adds a little more detail, makes it a little bigger, a little more aggressive. Over generations, the story of a real, albeit rare, animal sighting evolves. The giant squid, a reclusive deep-sea predator, is transformed into the Kraken, a malevolent titan of the sea. Think about the details of the legend. The Kraken appearing to make the water shallow and brown. A giant squid surfacing could easily stir up sediment from the seabed in shallower waters, or its massive body could simply give the illusion of a shallower patch of ocean, a giant whirlpool. While a squid can't create a mile-wide vortex, a massive creature struggling or diving rapidly could certainly create a significant disturbance in the water, one that would feel very dangerous to anyone in a small boat. Even the idea of the Kraken attacking ships isn't entirely baseless. While a giant squid probably wouldn't see a giant wooden vessel as prey, there have been documented cases of them latching onto submarines and boats. In 2003, a French sailing yacht competing in a race was reportedly attacked by a giant squid. The crew said it wrapped its tentacles around the hull and rudder, stopping the boat dead in the water. They managed to fend it off, but it was a terrifying encounter. It's likely these interactions are born of confusion or curiosity rather than aggression, but for the people on board, the distinction probably doesn't matter much. So, the Kraken legend seems to be a perfect storm of a real, awe-inspiring animal, the vast and mysterious nature of the ocean, and the human tendency to exaggerate in the face of fear and the unknown. Every time a sailor caught a fleeting glimpse of a giant squid, the legend was reborn and reinforced. The stories kept the fear alive, and the fear made the stories even grander. But the giant squid isn't the only candidate. There's another deep-sea titan that could fit the bill, the colossal squid. Living in the frigid waters around Antarctica, the colossal squid is even more massive than the giant squid. Though its tentacles are shorter, it's the heaviest invertebrate on the planet, and instead of just suckers with teeth, its tentacles are equipped with swiveling hooks. It's a true deep-sea brawler and competitor, the sperm whale. Scars from colossal squid hooks are often found on the skin of these whales, testament to epic undersea struggles. While geographically it's not in the right place for the original Nordic legend, it shows that the ocean is home to more than one type of real-life kraken today. Thanks to deep-sea submersibles and remote cameras, we no longer have to rely on washed-up carcasses. In 2004, Japanese scientists captured the first-ever images of a live giant squid in its natural habitat. Then, in 2012, they filmed one. The footage was breathtaking. It showed not a lumbering monster, but a sleek, powerful, and surprisingly graceful predator, shimmering with iridescent colors as it moved through the darkness. We finally saw the real animal behind the myth. It wasn't an island-sized brute, but it was magnificent and powerful in its own right. The story of the Kraken is a powerful reminder of how much of our world was once a complete mystery. The ocean was a terrifying and unknown frontier, and our imaginations filled the void with monsters. The Kraken was the ultimate expression of our fear of the deep. But the truth is, in many ways, even more incredible. The reality of a bus-sized squid with dinner plate eyes living miles beneath the waves is just as mind-blowing as any ancient legend. The ocean didn't need imaginary monsters. It was already filled with real ones. The journey from myth to scientific discovery shows us how we slowly, piece by piece, replace our fears with knowledge and wonder. So, the next time you hear a story about a sea monster, remember the Kraken, remember the terrified sailors, the exaggerated tales, and the magnificent, elusive creature that started it all, hiding in the dark, silent depths of our planet's oceans. The greatest mysteries aren't always myths. Sometimes, they're just waiting to be discovered. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of the deep, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more adventures into the unknown. See you next time.